Kaya Podcast would like to acknowledge that this episode was recorded on Whadjuk land of the Noongar people. We recognise our First Nations people as the traditional custodians of the land, and we pay our respects to the elders past, present and future. So Kaya, and welcome to the Kaya Podcast. On today's episode we have someone who pretty much needs no introduction, but I'm going to give her one anyway. She's a very well-respected leader in our community and does a lot of great things, not only with youth, but on the sporting field as well, that many of you might know. So please welcome Mikayla Morrison. Hello, Mikayla.
Hello, how are you?
I'm pretty good. Trying to stay cool, but it's not really working too well. So let's talk about pretty much how you've been going. What's been going on? How's your knees holding up? What's happening?
Yep, so recently, I've just been pretty much busy with my ACL rehab, so I'm going through my second ACL recon. But yeah, it's been pretty smooth. I'm just over 5 months, so I've started running and everything. But yeah, I feel like this second one's gone a lot smoother than my first one, just because I kind of know what to expect now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been pretty much keeping me busy.
Yeah, you kind of like know you kind of know what you're in for, like with injuries and stuff. So I'm pretty sure like one of the best videos that I seen was when you did your first run on Instagram. I'm pretty sure not only every athlete, but every athlete that's been injured before and been out for quite a while can definitely relate to like the emotion on your face, and you know, definitely just how awesome it was seeing your teammates kind of get around you for that. What was kind of going through your head those first couple steps, and then what was that feeling like?
Well, I guess that whole week was just like such an emotional week because that was the week of Indigenous round as well. So yeah, I guess the vibe around the club was just all up and about, and all the girls knew I was running that week, so it was all something we were all looking forward to. But yeah, I don't know, just being out there and just them making that guard of honour, like you can see in the video, I was like crying while I was running. I was like, stop.
And trying to breathe. Like.
Literally, I was like, come on. But no, it was so special, and yeah, I love the club and they've gotten around me this rehab. So.
No, that's always good like that, especially if you've got like good support network around you, especially with, you know, being injured and, you know, obviously I'm a big thing on mental health. Like mental health is, you know, a very big passion of mine to kind of improve for Indigenous people and youth as well. But I don't think mental health and injuries are kind of talked about a lot. Like I know, you know, anyone that's been injured will obviously know, but if you haven't been injured before and you kind of get injured for the first time, you're like, this is a huge shock. Like you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, and you know, you kind of think, is this time or whatever? Has those thoughts ever come to you before?
I reckon with my first one, I kind of like got onto the rehab a bit earlier just because I don't know, it was kind of new, and I didn't know what I was in for, so I just got straight into it. But I guess the second one, my mental health was a lot worse just because I knew kind of how draining the rehab process is. Like it's a long 12 months. And yeah, you just feel like isolated. So I guess, yeah, the second one it took a while for that resilience mindset to kind of set in.
Yeah. Because it's kind of like, oh, fuck, here we go again,
yeah, exactly.
type
and
feeling.
like I said before, like this rehab has gone a lot better just because I know kind of what to expect. But then again, because I know what to expect, it's like worse as well because I know how draining and long it is. But no, yeah, resilience always kind of kicks in with me, and just with the people around me, like family, friends and the club, they get around me. So
no, that's weak. Who's kind of like your go-to person at the club? Like if you're really stressed out, or you know, obviously maybe it's a bad day and you're just overthinking everything, who's kind of like your go-to person to hit up that'll help you snap out of it? Or
yes, my person would be Heffy. So it's her real name's Claire, but I call her Heffy. She's our PDM, so like our support person there. But yeah, I guess she's just more than a support person. Like she's honestly one of my best friends, and she knows everything about me. But yeah, I go to her straight away. She knows so much. But yeah, and she's wicked. Then as well as her, I go to Springer a lot, our boxing coach.
Yep.
Just because, yeah, just chucking a few hits, getting all that anger out
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
That helps.
Yeah,
But
was just talking about him before, and I was just saying how massive his hands are. Like he's got mitts for hands to blow. Yeah,
and he's such a fit bloke as well for an old boy.
Yeah,
He won't
yeah.
care that I'm calling him old. But
yeah. I
But
don't
no,
know.
they're wicked.
You'll see next time you go to boxing. You know,
I might get a king it.
he might just give you a couple extra rounds. Like, no, that's wicked. So boxing's something else that obviously, a way you can manage not only your mental health but staying healthy and staying fit. Throughout the off season and throughout rehab and stuff like that. What's some other things that you kind of like to do? Like myself, during the off season, I don't like to get too out of schedule. I like to kind of stick with a gym program or whatever I have to do. Obviously, off season you have a couple drinks or whatever and enjoy yourself. But what's kind of your balance?
Well, I guess before the 2 rehabs, because I guess I've done 2 years in a row of just non-stop program. But yeah, I guess when I'm trying to switch off, I like to do some art. I have a few art pieces at home with Dad. And yeah, I guess just spending time with family as well, because I guess when we're in season, we're just so full on. And I barely ever get to see my family. So yeah, I guess that's good as well.
Yeah, especially like with the traveling and stuff like that, it would be kind of hard to stay grounded, get on country, that sort of thing. That was one thing we talked about with Alex Winwood when he was on the pod. He's actually fighting tonight, so hopefully, if you're watching this, Alex, hopefully you've got the dub already. But yeah, we talked about getting on country and how like powerful that can be sometimes, because sometimes just going for a swim in like fresh water or something is just so rehabilitating, and making sure you chuck sand in the water or something before so nothing follows you home. But yeah, all those little things, they help. But let's talk about, I want to get to know the other side. Like, so a lot of people would know like the AFL side, and obviously about your rehab, because coming back from that is something not a lot of people can do, and you're on your way to coming back from your second, so you've got heaps of people behind you supporting you, no pressure or anything, but just knowing that you've got a lot of backup when you have those days. I want to talk about upbringing. So where did you grow up? What was school life like as a primary school? Was you a problem child? No?
Definitely not.
No, don't lie. You can't lie on this podcast. You got to tell the truth.
No, yeah, so
because we'll ask Daniel. He'll
tell you something different.
Yeah.
I was born and raised in Perth. So I'm Noongar, Yamaji and Gidja. So my Noongar connections are Balladong and Gorang, so the wheat belt and down south. My Yamaji connections are Mulgana, so just Sharks Bay area. And then I'm also Gidja from the Halls Creek region. But yeah, grew up in Perth pretty much all my life. We lived in Bustleton for a bit when I was younger, when Bubba was first born. And then, just came back to Perth, and I pretty much did all my schooling in... So primary school was Lockridge Primary.
Oh, yeah.
And then high school I moved to Perth College, and I did year 8 to year 12 there, which was a bit of a culture shock going there. Just from Lockridge, all-girl private school. But no, I hated it at first, and I used to just cry to Dad, and I'm like, Dad, I don't want to go here, I want to go somewhere else. But he made me, stick it out, which I'm grateful for now, and I'm glad I did kind of push through and graduate from PC. So
yeah. Sometimes the hardest thing is just getting through, especially because of how much like those sort of schools kind of expect from you. It's bloody difficult, hey? So you went through schooling. We discussed that you was a problem child, but don't like to admit it. So we got through that. What about, going into Waffle? How'd you kind of find the love for footy? Was you always a footballer or?
No, not always. So I first started off with netball and
what
little
position?
Athletics, Centre GA.
Okay, so yep, that. Yep. So she moves. She likes to throw elbows. Yeah, she likes to trip yogers. All of that.
Yeah.
Pull it.
Nah, but yeah.
Swear
so
from the sideline.
No, I was a good kid. No, but yeah, netball.
Tell the truth.
Netball and athletics. But yeah, athletics, I was really into the sprints and javelin.
Yep.
And then, from there, I started playing footy year 6, so when I was about 12, for Bassendean Junior Football Club.
Yep.
Did a year there, then I kind of just went back to netball. And then, 2016, I went to East Perth Royals, where that's kind of where my footy fully started off. And I played there until 2019. And then after that, 2020, as it was my draft year, and East Perth didn't have a league team, so I had to move to Swans. So, for my whole draft year, I just played there. But then that was the year of COVID as well, so it was a bit all up in the air.
And did you know many girls at Swan Districts when you moved there? Or?
Yeah, I knew most, like, just through the community, and then also, like, state and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, so I guess 2020, played a few games at Swans, and then, got drafted at the end of the year to Freo. And, so now I've just done my 4th season with Freo.
Wow, that's amazing. That's actually wicked that you're in your 4th season, not only to get drafted but to stay in the system is a very big deal that often sometimes can be overlooked. You see a lot of fellas kind of get into the system, and it might not be for everyone. Obviously there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that you would know, or a kind of code of conduct you have to hold yourself to in order to stay and to play the sport that you love. And it's just amazing that you're in your 4th season. Like, that's awesome. How was draft night for you? Like, did you know you was going to get drafted?
I had I obviously was hoping I would, but I don't know, it was just a big blur that night. But it was so funny because Dad he invited, like, literally my whole family to come over, because he was pretty confident. But I was like, Dad, if I don't get picked...
Yeah, this is going to be embarrassing. You're all getting flogged.
Thank God. But I was like, oh, please. But no, it was a good night because obviously I ended up getting picked. And, just having all my family there as well was very special.
Yeah. And to stay home as well. Is that something that you wanted to do, like, originally, was to stay home?
I guess at that time we had to nominate a state. For the women's, that's just how it worked. So... I ended up nominating, obviously, home. So it was either Eagles or Freo. So I was happy with either.
Yeah, either or. You got...
As long as I was home with family.
Yeah, exactly. And you got good black fellas, in both clubs that you can kind of, shadow off, or that can show you the ropes and get to know things a little bit easier. So let's talk. You got in, you got drafted, you had about a year where... you're learning the system and that, and then you got your first game. Was it 2022?
Yeah.
Your first game. So how do you find that time period, getting drafted? Obviously earning your spot, and then keeping your spot as well. Like, what was that time frame like for you?
My first year of being drafted was kind of like, I don't want to say it was like a write-off. It was just a blur, just because I got. It was probably like halfway through pre-season, I got really sick, and I was in hospital, and I had to get like a tube and everything in my stomach. So, I guess physically and mentally I was just out of it.
Yeah.
And then also during that time, my partner at the time, which I'm sure you know, ended up getting locked up.
Okay.
So, just that first year I was just mentally and physically drained, and that was... That was kind of the reason I didn't get to debut that first season. But I guess aside from that, like, it just took a while for me to kind of get used to that professional side of things.
Just like priorities, kind of,
because I even spoke to my coach at the time about it, and he agreed, like, I had the skills to be at that top level, but it was just the off-field kind of things that I had to tweak and everything. But I guess after that first season, I kind of realised what it takes to be at that top level. And then my second season that I came back, I just worked my whole life. Did a lot of running sessions. Then I ended up debuting, I think it was like round 4 or 6. I don't know the exact round. But it was when we were in a hub in Melbourne.
I think I read 4. I think I read 4.
I'm going to trust you.
Yeah.
But it was when we were in a hub in Melbourne. So it was away from family and everything, which was a bit Winyan, but... I got to debut, which was...
Yeah, that would have been wicked. And just, was you nervous, or was you like, you kind of can go either way. You can either let the nerves rock you, or you can be like, all right, this is, you know, my time. I've been waiting since I got drafted for this, since before I got drafted, you know, for this. Was it kind of, which way did you kind of go?
Yeah, there was a bit of nerves there, but I think it was more like, it's finally my time, you know. I can finally play and be on that field and put that jumper on.
Yeah.
Because, it was a long time coming. But, I was just finally,
I'm here. Something else that I read was you got one of the nominations after only like 3 or 4 games?
My third game.
Your third game, you got a nomination, and was that kind of like, all right, all my pieces that I've kind of been putting together since, I got drafted and, now I'm here. Was it like a fulfilling moment for you? Like, all right, now I know I belong here. Because sometimes, with nerves and the pressure of, playing, especially having fans and playing, it's like the pressure's just 10 times more. Was it kind of like, all right, now it's come together, or was it like...
Yeah, I felt like I was like kind of in a rhythm now. Like I knew kind of what to expect being at that level.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my first home game. So I guess obviously being on country, being with family as well, and having my family watching like that made a huge difference, I reckon.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I just remember warming up for that game as well, just doing some set shots, and Frizy, I think he's our team manager. I just remember him coming up to me. He's like, "Mara, you're gonna have like a knockout game today," and I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And then I just
If you say so, though.
I think that was the best game of my whole career. So yeah.
I'm gonna scratch that, because you can't say whole career, because you still got a lot of career. You still got a lot of career left. Like, a lot of the times, sometimes you gotta take a step back, to go forward. And like you said, because that first year was such a blur, and obviously, we spoke a little bit about how injuries kind of like ground you and make you think, all right, do I want to give up? Is that it for me? Like, I know for myself, when I cut my foot open with an angle grinder, just not wearing shoes, just being an idiot. So I plugged it in thinking I turned it off, and it like went straight into my left foot.
Like that, no.
And it cut 3 ligaments, and it just scraped over my toes. So I'm in the hospital, and they're like, all right, you're going to have surgery, and if it would have went down any further, you would have lost 3 toes. And yeah, so they did the surgery, and I know from just rehabilitating from that, my left calf was like 3 centimeters smaller than my right. I got so fat, like, because all I could do was sit and eat. That's all I could do. And it was kind of like, all right, do I want to keep pushing? Do I want to be like everyone else and just give up? Do I love this sport as much as I tell other people like I love this sport? Did you kind of have those moments? And, if so, how'd you kind of get through it? Because I know, there's definitely would be, a little girl watching that's maybe she's just done a ACL or something like that and wants some advice. So how did you kind of handle yourself in those times?
Well, I guess my first one, I just took it as just a big challenge. Obviously, it was the first time, so I was just like, I can do this. Like, let's just get it done.
Was it the left first? Or
yeah, my
the right?
first was the left. And then I guess the second one, that was just more when I was down and out. And because at the time I was also working at Cedar College as the Aboriginal Liaison Officer there. And then, I was just that down and out. I had to leave that job. And as much as I loved that and I loved the kids there, I just couldn't do it. But I guess, being around the club has helped, just because we have girls that have gone through what I've gone through. Like, we have Kiara Bowers, who has done it 3 times on the one knee, which is psycho to me. And you look at her now, she's amazing. And then we've got Anya Tai, who's done it twice as well, and she's like our best forward. And I reckon the best forward in the whole league. But yeah, I guess...
I hope Gemma heard that. Gemma, you heard that?
This is a special shout out to Gemma.
Yeah, Gemma, you heard that? I didn't say it, Dad. She said it. I'm just here.
Well, since Gemma wants to leave me for Port...
Oh, it's hot.
No, but maybe Gemma's a close second. But I guess just having those girls around me, that kind of taught me, that there is kind of a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And they've given me a lot of good advice on how to get through and
Like it's worth it. It's worth the wait.
And when you look at where they're at now, it's like, it would be worth it, yeah.
But like, like we said before, priorities, like it kind of makes you think, all right, I've got to be a little, you got to be a little bit selfish at times with your training, with your lifestyle. You can't go to this birthday because, I've got training in the morning, or I just literally can't. I got to rest. I got training today. And, figuring out all those little things. And then, you did your second knee. And I think that was kind of, I can't imagine how that was for yourself, because I know from, the public side of thing, it was kind of like, really excited for the season. And then that comes along, but it's like, I think it's more of like a blessing in disguise, kind of, maybe something's just telling you, all right, hold off for a little bit, because when you do come back, it's going to be like, it's going to be time to go. How did you find the difference between the two, like doing it the first time, doing it the second? Did you find gymming a lot, like that really helped with it?
Yeah, I guess with the second one, like with the first one, sorry, because obviously I was a bit scared to do a few things because I was, I've done my ACL. It's like one of the biggest injuries for footy. So I was just a bit scared to do everything, whereas the second one I knew what I could do. So as soon as I did it, I was pretty much into prehab, like before surgery.
Yep.
So just getting my quad kind of strong enough. So then, because obviously after surgery you lose a lot of muscle. So I guess the more you build it up, the less you lose.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did a lot of prehab stuff, and then after surgery I kind of just wanted to get straight into it, just not waste any time. Because the first one we kind of went over 12 months. We weren't rushing it because it was out of season anyways.
Yeah.
So we went about 13, 14 months, whereas this one we're aiming for like 12 on the dot, just so I'm right for round one.
You're like it's weird, hey, like you're getting to know your body, and it's like, how do I not know my body? Like I'm an adult, like, but you're knowing like your recovery times, like what you're capable of, like all that sort of thing. And so like, you just get out of surgery, and then like what's your approach after that? Is it like, is it the next day? Is it the next week? Or
honestly, I was pain meds.
Yeah.
That pain, it haunts me.
Wait, they're addictive though. The pain
Dad gets
meds.
real scared with me.
What did you get? What did you get?
Oxycodone.
Did you get good? That's
something else. I don't know.
That's bad. It's bad. It's so bad.
But it's good.
It's good. It's so horribly good. But yeah, I had oxycodone, and I had this paracetamol one. Have you had Tramadol?
Yeah,
That's horrible.
it was Tramadol I had. Yeah.
It was Tramadol?
Because I started with Tapentadol, but then that was making me feel sick, like I was vomiting.
Yeah. No, not this. Tramadol, I felt like my arms wasn't connected to my body. Like, I remember taking it in the hospital, and it was like my chest just caved in. I'm just sitting there, and I'm like I'm on the hospital bed, and I'm laying there. And when it kicked in, I was just like... I was like, nah. When the nurse came back, I was like, don't give me this shit again, bro. And she was like, do you want oxycodone? I was like, I'd love some oxycodone, thank you.
No, I love the Tramadol, honestly.
Really?
Because then it would just knock me out. I just slept like the first maybe week.
I bet you drink like tequila and shit, like all that hard shit, like, ugh.
Not tequila, no.
No.
That's like traumatizing, but... Yeah, no, I was knocked out the first week. So I guess after that, back to the original question.
I got sidetracked. Sorry.
Yeah. What's it called? Yeah, after that first week, I guess that's when I started to get back into, just back in the gym, doing light stuff first, obviously, and getting that movement.
Yep.
Because obviously you don't want your knee to get stiff, so it's trying to, bend it, straighten it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So like a lot of stretching and stuff as well. Do you normally stretch a lot? Like, I'm horrible. I have to get reminded to stretch, and then I still forget, and I wonder like, why am I sore? Like,
literally, and like rolling out, I'm so bad with all of that. Like, all I do for recovery is get in my pool, which is really bad. My physio's not listening, but this is pool's my only recovery, really.
Yeah. Like recovery is something that I've always been told is so important, and I've only started like really focusing on it since I've got older, because obviously you get older, your body starts hurting a little bit more and more.
You need it more?
Nah, when it's cold, my feet hurt. Like, I'm getting old. Like, but, you know, oh my gosh. So stretching, you know, did you ease into it, or was you just, like, in terms of, like, I've been shown by our trainers all these fancy, like, I've got a strength and conditioning coach who shows me all these fancy stretches that I have to do, and I'm like, I do it once and I'm like, man, bro, this shit hurts. Like, this shit hurts. I'm not made to go this way, bro. Like, and then he's like, that's why you got little ankles. I'm like, you don't know, young. I was like,
That's genetic.
yeah, that's genetic. I can't, no matter what I do, that's always going to be there. See, now I'm self-conscious. I put it under the table. But no, so, you know, we talk about how big recovery is, you know, for your body and stuff like that. Like I said before, mental health is something I'm very huge on. How do you kind of, you know, manage that? We talked a little bit about art, and obviously, you know, being an athlete, that's your therapy, being at training, being around that team environment as well. How do you gauge those times? Because obviously, you know, you have your moments where you're kind of just like, I don't want to fucking do this. I just want to stay in bed all day and watch movies, eat whatever the hell I want, you know? How do you kind of pick yourself up? Like, for me, it's doing this stuff and, you know, talking to people like you that's doing, you know, amazing shit, because this, you know, it's something fun, it's something different, you know? Yeah, like, what do you do?
Yeah, so I actually went through one of these phases, like, literally last week, where I was just no motivation. I just felt that slack, and I just literally just laid. And I had noodles nearly every day. But, like, yeah, I don't know. It was just... And obviously, I guess I was talking to my physio as well at the time, and he obviously, with long rehabs like this, like, it is normal to go through those phases. And I guess just getting that in my head that it is normal that I am kind of feeling like this. But yeah, I guess what gets me out of those kind of phases is just, I don't know, just seeing the bigger picture kind of thing, and just really, like, you know, my knee's not going to fix itself. Like, if I don't put in the work, then, you know, it's not going to, you know, I won't return and I won't be the player that I was before. But yeah, and I guess, like, this week, what's kind of got me switched back on is I, like, reach out to the girls if they want to come do, like, a gym session with me or come do a run with me.
Yeah.
Just so it's not so lonely as well.
Yeah.
And the girls are good with that. Like, they love doing the sessions with me. But yeah, I guess just reaching out as well.
Yeah.
When you're struggling.
Just being around, like, those like-minded people that, you know, yeah. No, that's really good. And so what would you kind of tell someone that's maybe, you know, I'm going to shift the conversation a little bit. What would you kind of tell someone that's growing up, like you said, you played netball in your past and, you know, football's kind of taken off from you. But obviously there was a crossroad at some point, you know, everyone kind of has that point where it's like, all right, you have to kind of choose what you want to do. But I'm a big believer in you don't really have to. Whatever takes off first, then you know you might come this way and play footy for a bit, or come back and play basketball, or whatever, boxing with Springer. What would you kind of tell someone that's kind of stuck in those crossroads?
Yeah, I guess just finding, I guess, where your passion is more. Even if it's split both ways, you're just as passionate for both sports, I guess. You know, yeah, as you said, you can always do both, I guess, but if it's getting, you know, too much physically and mentally, yeah, I don't know. Because with me, like, I guess, like, I love netball. I miss playing netball. But I just found footy more fun and just more challenging, I guess.
Yeah.
And I was always a bit physical, like, you know, in the netball court, it was, yeah. Like you said, I was rough. But
elbows,
anyways.
everything. Yep.
But yeah, no, I don't know. I just found, I guess my love for footy was just stronger. But yeah, I don't know. I guess just finding that time and just taking that time to know yourself as well, and just what you're kind of enjoying more, I guess.
Yeah. Like, that's it. And, you know, sometimes you kind of got to step away for a little bit to kind of regain your love. Like, I know, like, after I came back from my foot, I was playing, you know, NBL 1 at the time. Well, it was in our preseason, and I was like, look, I'm not loving this right now. Like, I can barely freaking walk. So, and you know, one of my big support persons was Uncle Trey Bennell. And I pretty much hit him up and he's like, yeah, come down to Peel and, you know, come do a pre-season and that. And before I know it, I was, you know, training with the league side and in the reserve side. And that's kind of, I was like, oh yeah, footy could actually work out. And then it was like, oh, but, you know, basketball, that's where my heart is. That's where that makes me happy. And you kind of got to take that little step away to figure out how much you really love the sport and stuff like that. But no, that's wicked. So off the field, what do you kind of do off the field? Like that keeps you busy.
Well, yeah, like I mentioned before, my art, I like to do that a bit. I did all the girls. I did like 5 girls boots for indigenous round this year.
Yeah.
And yeah, normally I just do some canvases and Dad just puts them up around the house.
Well, you're more than welcome if you ever have a spare canvas and you can see a wall anywhere around here where you can put something up. Yep. I'll definitely love that.
It'll be about 20 grand.
20 grand? Well, do you take afterpay or lay-by? I'll put it on lay-by, all right?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, 5-finger discount.
No, but yeah, my art, and then I don't know, like just since I'm not working as well now, I have a lot of free time, so I guess just being with family, catching up with friends. A lot of my nieces and nephews are still babies now, so just being around them, which I love. Yeah,
Daniel, you still a baby too, Daniel?
Yes.
That
is my baby.
Big man Ed.
He thinks he's a man. Oh my god! Don't get me started on that. But I guess just being around family as well.
Yeah. No, that's always the best. Like, remedy is family and culture. Like one of the big things, I think for black fellas is during that off season, you know, getting home, getting on country, and you know, doing that cultural stuff. I don't think a lot of our like peers really realize how important like those sort of things are to us, and just it kind of it grounds you a lot. So if you was to go back on country, like what would that look like for you? Like me, it would either be like down dwelling up or, you know, up to northern. Like that's kind of my two go-tos. What about yourself?
Well, I guess on mum's side we do a few York trips every year or so. So that's where all her mob's from, York and Northern. And then dad's side, well, last year I went up to Halls Creek. So my Gidger side, that's all like stolen gen. So we're still kind of getting to know that side and getting to know our Gidger mob. So I went up there last year with my good sister girl, Crystal Petresky. And because obviously she lives there, she grew up there. So she's so good with that kind of thing, and she kind of, you know, introduces me to everyone up there and says, this is your mob, this is your mob.
Oh, wicked. Yeah.
So, I guess going up there last year, I spent Christmas there. That was really good for myself and my spirit, just being on country there and getting to know everyone, I guess. But, I guess that's it, really, just York up there. When I was younger, we used to get up to, like, Yamaji country a lot in Geraldton.
Yeah.
But, not that much anymore. But, I guess York would be our main thing.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. Like I like York and Northern and like Gidgeganup and all of that, because it's kind of like a home vacation. Like you don't have to travel too far, you know, to kind of just get away. And sometimes that's all you really need. No, but that's really good. Where do you see like AFLW, you know, heading for yourself? Like especially, you know, with it expanding so rapidly, with more of a fan base coming about. And, you know, I've noticed in the last, you know, I think mainly in the last 2 years, the level of the skill level of the actual football that's being played, and not only that, but the support around it has increased like heaps. Like where do you see, you know, and you've obviously being drafted since that COVID year, have seen like the growth of it. You know, what's that been like, and where do you kind of see it going? Like, the
AFL's overall plan is kind of to have us full time by 2026, which is pretty close when you think about it. But I guess just moving forward, like I think it'll grow a lot faster, and especially with the skills as now we have girls that have been playing since Auskick, whereas before, you know, we've, like for myself, I only started playing when I was 12, and then some girls have only started playing like 2 years before they got drafted. So,
Yeah.
I guess that skill development as well will make a huge difference. And yeah, I guess it would just be like a whole new game.
Yeah. No, definitely. And especially, you know, having a full season with, like having a full season being full-time and actually that being your main income would, you know, not only improve the fan bases and that, but it will improve the sport more, because then that's your like sole focus, that's your full income, and you know that you can put all your eggs in one basket with that. Whereas, you know, how it is now, you kind of have to be like, all right, what am I doing outside the season, and that, you know, that sort of thing. One thing that I love that the AFL does that I think all sports should do, no matter what level you're at, is how all the indigenous mob, you know, get together and go on that trip before is it the end of the year or the start of the year?
Yeah, the start of the boys' pre-season and the end of our season.
Oh yeah, did that just go then, or was that?
Oh, we haven't had it this year. I think they were planning on doing trips every 2 years now.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
We did it like this time last year.
So what was you know, what was that vibe? Because I know, especially with the IBA stuff, and I'm sure Daniel will let you know, when we kind of get around other black fellas, that it can either be very dangerous or it can be like the best thing ever. But when I say dangerous, I mean dangerous as in like a good dangerous.
Yeah.
Like it's a good time. It's cramps. You get to connect with you know black fellas that you normally wouldn't meet. And that's something, you know, obviously IBA brings and that the AFL is doing as well. You know, how have you found that and the cultural exchange as well? Like, for me, I was kind of shocked how like Adelaide mob, their dances and everything is like so similar to us, even like a little bit of the language and that. What was that kind of like the cultural exchange of meeting everyone, and did you make any connections to players and stuff like that?
Well, yeah, I thought that trip was like amazing. I guess at the start, like I was still kind of fangirling because there's big names there, like McDonald, Tip and Woody. I was like, oh my god. But, no, it was so good being there because we also had sessions where it was just black fellas and multicultural. So it was just obviously directed like issues that would black fellas were facing. And I guess in those sessions, like it really was kind of eye-opening because like even like big names like Brad Hill, they really just like opened up and, you know, was very vulnerable in front of like all of us. So it was kind of just made me realise, obviously, you know, everyone's just human. And this is just their job and kind of what they have to do. But obviously they have another life outside of footy, and there's a lot of similarities as well.
Yeah, like they people too, and you kind of a lot of that glitz and glamour kind of like masks it all.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, it was so good to get to know everyone as well. And we also did like training sessions with everyone. See,
that would have scared the shit out of me. That would have scared the shit out of me. I would have been too nervous.
No, well, I was doing my own rehab program anyway. So I was on my own.
Oh, too lovely.
I was like, you mother right.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I guess the culture over there, the Wadawurrung mob, in Geelong.
In Geelong, yeah.
It was just so beautiful to get to know their culture, and we kind of did. They did like a little immersion, so there was dances, weaving, and we did like we did art with them as well. And we all got to take it home to our club. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was so special, and it was good to get to know everyone as well.
And that's probably like one of the biggest highlights of being a professional athlete is getting to know other professional athletes that's, you know, the same mob as you, or not same mob but same culture as you, and, you know, seeing the differences and the similarities and that, like that'll just be, you know, you make those connections and have those connections like forever, you know.
And even like the connections with the multicultural mob as well, like there's a lot of similarities obviously between us, and they were just like family, like it was just like one big family there.
Yeah.
Special,
No, that's wicked. So tell me, what's 2024 looking like for you? What's the plan? Because I'm a big thing of manifesting and, I write shit down because I know on days where I feel like crap and I read it and I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah. But so what's in for 2024 for you, so that hopefully end of next year you can look back at this and be like tick 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 tick. Maybe not that one, but tick tick tick.
Since I've done this now, I've kind of tried to think about obviously what else I can be doing besides footy. So next year I'm going back to uni and I'm going back into nursing.
Oh yeah,
at
Murdoch.
Yeah. I first started pre-med in 2020, but then obviously that was the year of COVID and everything was just in the air. So then I just never got back to it. So going back to uni.
Congratulations, first of all. That's a huge step, especially to go back. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
High demand for nurses too.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's my plan for next year. Then obviously my rehab should be done by around June, July.
Yep.
So that'll be halfway through pre-season. Then hopefully be right for round 1.
Yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan. No, that's wicked. Well, thank you very much for coming on the Kaya podcast. Obviously, before you go, I better pay some bills. Thank you to Jilla, Indigenous Water Solutions, for sponsoring us. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Just had to pay some bills real quick and then get back to it. But no, thank you so much for sharing your story. I think, the reason of this podcast is to show those sides of not only professional sports, but black fellas that's kind of doing the right thing and leading the way, you know what I mean? I don't think that's really talked about a lot in the media, and I don't think, a lot of those stories like yourself of having to decide between sports, having to come back from injuries, having to even just, like you said, getting through that first year of jitters, I don't think that's really talked about a lot, and that's the whole purpose of this podcast. So when I actually was doing my listing, you was one of the first names that I put down. You was in my top 10.
Yay.
And then you was in my top 10 and I was like, all right, I don't know, this is the perfect person that I want to get on the podcast, obviously, because of what you're doing and then also what you're not doing. You see a lot of people kind of go down the wrong path or whatever the case may be, and you've kind of, even just saying now that you've gone back to uni and doing nursing, you got to give flowers where flowers is due. So I want to give you your flowers and say thank you very much for coming on and sharing your message. Is there anything else that you want to say, or is there anything it's not on our radio, so you can't give a shout out to blah blah blah. But is there, what advice or what legacy do you want to live? Once you're retired in the Hall of Fame, got a couple premierships under your belt, what's the kind of Mikayla Morrison legacy that you want to leave?
Well, I guess, my resilience is a big part of me. So I guess kind of inspiring the next generation, just obviously, you can get through. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel, even though I'm still in the tunnel at the moment. But yeah, just using that support around you, and then again, whatever opportunities come your way, take it with 2 hands. And yeah.
Yeah, beautifully said. Well, thank you very much for coming along.
Thank you.
Thanks
for having me.
Big thank you to Jilla, purely Indigenous, 100% WA Indigenous owned, high quality Jilla, pure water and coffee beans products, for sponsoring this episode and being able to supply the water. So Jilla, purely Indigenous. Thank you very much for watching. Obviously follow us on Instagram, Kaya_podcast, the Kaya podcast. We're also on TikTok, YouTube and Spotify. So make sure, go in there, have a look, share, all that sort of stuff. But also, even feel free to send us a message on who you want to see on this podcast, who you might think will be good, because we're always open. We've got a lot of episodes coming up over this Christmas, New Year's and going into 2024 period. So make sure that you stay tuned in for that. And thank you for listening. Cheers. Buddha one.